welcome, everybody, to the top shelf. Yet another episode. This one's kind of in between our normal episode structure, so I don't even know what episode number to call it. I think technically it's 20.5, but this is a very special Kickstarter promotional episode for the prequel to my favorite tabletop game currently of all time. Although Patchwork World and Down We Go come close just for the sake of appearances here. No, but seriously, Electric Bastion Land, we played about a year ago with Chris McDowall up in the top right there, and it was superb, and I loved everything about it. I've got the hardcover sitting directly behind me. And now we are putting forth a Kickstarter or Chris is putting forth a Kickstarter for Into the Odd, a remaster of the original game that Electric Bastion Land eventually kind of evolved towards. But it is a little bit more violent, a little bit grittier, a little bit more fantastical as opposed to the weird and wild modernism that Electric Bastion Land has in it. And I'm very excited to play around in the space today. And I finally get to run a game for Chris as opposed to him running a game for me. So we're flipping the tables today. We'll go ahead and start with intros real fast. We'll go around we're not going to go around in a circle because at that point that means Tony's going to end up in the middle at some point, and rule of three says I'm not allowed to let him start anymore. Let's start with Chris. Go ahead and introduce yourself and anything you would like to spill about, and then where we can find you, things like that.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm Chris McDowall. I designed Into the Odd, which we're playing, and Electric Bastion Land, which you've mentioned. You might also see some of the stuff I write at bastionland.com. And I'm just generally excited to be playing for once, because I think I've run this game, obviously, countless times, but I don't know if I've ever actually played Into the Odd. I think I've played Electric Bastion. No, I have. It's been at least 7 years since I played in the game of Into the Odd, but it's been a long time since I was on the player side, so I'm just here as an excuse to be a player, basically.
Good. No, that's exactly what the top shelf is here for. I built the game just because it feels like most designers don't get to play their games, so that's why the stream exists in the format that it does. Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron King. You can find me on Twitter at AaronMFKing. I designed the aforementioned Patchwork World. That's all.
And speaking of, before we move forward, I was actually talking to somebody about Patchwork World. For anybody who watched the last couple streams, Patchwork World is a fantastic, very slick, powered by the Apocalypse game. There it is. But we were talking about a couple different Powered by the Apocalypse games because a friend came to me and was like, I don't understand it. Powered by the Apocalypse is so difficult to get a grasp on. And my hand went immediately to your book. So if that says anything about how well that is written for functionality there.
Thank you.
But Tony, take us home on the player train.
My name's Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist over at Plus One EXP, and we're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and great players find amazing designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, and sometimes we come over here on TPK Roleplay to do it, which is one of our favorite places to hang out. So we design games. We do a bunch of other stuff. My most recent game, iToaster, is up at Exalted Funeral right now. It's a little A6 game inspired by The Brave Little Toaster. But right now, over on GameFound, we're funding Down We Go, which is by Marcus Linderum, and I'm the lead developer on it. We've got a huge crew of folks who helped contribute to the design process on that, including Aaron and a number of other people who have been featured here on TPK. So that's who I am and what we do. Find us at Plus One EXP anywhere.
Very cool. And as always, I am Mads, your host. You can find me on Twitter at JKMadigan. I also write my own games on Twitch, which incidentally I do have a game, Raven's Crest, which is almost spooky season, but it is actually built as a hack of Electric Bastion Land as that moves forward. So all still very relevant today. But right now we are here for Into the Odd, and one of the benefits of Into the Odd and Electric Bastion Land is the ease of character creation. and we have not rolled up anything for anybody. Well, actually, everybody's rolled their stats, right?
Yes.
We've got the stats rolled. So stats involve 3d6 for 3 different stats, and then a d6 for HP or hit protection in this case. And then in the book, there is a table for your gear, which we have not gotten to yet, which we are going to do now. We'll run it in the same order that we just did as far as rolls, and then I'll go ahead and pull from that table and just throw your gear at you. Chris, what are we looking at for HP and highest stat here?
So I genuinely rolled these. I have to do this disclaimer now because it looks like I've made these up. It's not quite that bad, but we've got strength 12,
okay,
dexterity 5, and willpower 15.
Okay.
Quite the spread. And 6 HP.
6 HP. Okay, so you're looking at a pistol, a knife, a bomb, and a saw as far as your gear. Aaron, what are we looking at for highest stat and HP?
I have a dexterity of 14 and 3 HP.
Okay, 14 and 3. You've got a long axe, which is a D8, and it's bulky. You've got throwing axes and fire oil. And Tony.
Do you want all the stats or just my highest one?
Just your highest in the HP.
I got 15 and 4.
15 and 4. Okay. So for you, we are looking at a bow, which is D6 and bulky. Knife, which is a D6. Rocket, and fire oil.
Some of my favorite things.
Yeah, a lot of pyromaniacs in this group today.
Yeah, we all have some sort of explosive or
or incendiary something.
Going to work against us rather than for us.
Indeed. Because as our game begins, well, actually, for those who are unfamiliar with Into the Odd, let me preface a couple things real quick first. Because Into the Odd, the world is all over the place. And I'll just kind of read the introduction piece because it is very succinct. But it says, the world is too large for explorers to map and too old for academics to record. Expeditions return with tales of places bizarre, wondrous, and horrific. You are an explorer, braving the unknown in search of riches, knowledge, and power. Most of all, you seek arcana, strange devices holding unnatural powers. They range from a humble piece of jewelry to vast sculptures. There are many religious and scientific theories around their existence, but most settle somewhere in between. That kind of gives you a contextually where we are at the beginning of our adventure, because we're getting right into leaving the ever-expanding city of Bastion as explorers heading out into deep country towards a small settlement known as Caburnett. Caburnett is a mining town, but the mines themselves out that direction are... one of them has been long abandoned for a couple of decades at this point, since an accident. But the small community put aside its ideals and kind of distaste for the bustle of Bastion to pay for adventures from Bastion in order to find out what strange things lurk in the abandoned mine near their town. The rumors and kind of filtering in of information that you guys have received so far would leave you with some reasonable suspicion that there is an arcana causing trouble somewhere down deep into this mine. But beyond that, you have very little information on the situation at hand or what people have seen or experienced until you actually make it to having some of these discussions. At the beginning of our adventure, you've made the trek at this point out to Caburnett, and you arrive on the edge of the town. It is no more than a dozen and a half buildings and a small populace kind of in a single lane community in which most of the folks kind of keep to themselves, but it's the kind of town where everybody knows everybody and everybody will immediately start to gossip as new folks would pass through, and you can see that reflected in the way that the shutters of the tavern will kind of open and glance as somebody looks through and catches your eyes as you kind of wander into town. There is a gentleman in the center of town currently sweeping the central thoroughfare of this dusty cobblestone, and beyond that the town is relatively empty as far as any comings and goings. And it is about midday right now.
Who wants to be the leader?
Before we started the stream, Mad said that whatever Chris said was the rules are the rules, and so I think we should let Chris.
Wait.
No,
That
I'm
is
very
not what I said.
specifically. I'm very specifically not gonna, even if he makes an absolute hash of it, which I'm sure maybe won't happen. I'm not getting involved with rules. I guarantee.
Althea is happy to step up if no one else wants to take
Get after it.
Go for it.
Do we know what did you say? We had heard something that sounds like there's an Arcanum down below.
Within the reason you were all heading out this way is they basically paid for a courier to bring news of something going on in these mines in hopes that explorers from Bastion would come that way to try to clear it out.
What somethings did they bring news of?
From their words, there is something evil in the mines that either wishes to be left alone or is desperately trying to be set free. But they don't.
We got to go poke at that.
Those are my two moods as well, actually.
Either leave me alone or set me free. Tell me a little bit more about the town, like what that we've come into. Is there like you said, shutters are being like pulled as we come in?
Yeah, I mean, people are kind of peering through at the three of you. This is, I mean, all things considered, especially being within deep country, it is a little bit more backwater as far as their opinions towards outsiders and their kind of general appearance of the town. It's not particularly well kept in the scheme of things. It kind of has a very feudal, muddy visual. I say muddy with also the premise that this guy is sweeping the thoroughfare, so it is a very dry area, but it's got that kind of small village feudal look to it.
Do any of the buildings kind of stand out as either like a town hall or a church or a temple, or some? Is there anywhere that looks like it might be a kind of place of importance in the village?
Yeah, so there are three buildings that would strike you as larger or more prominent than the others. One of which at the far edge of town is a much larger house. Definitely something of wealth and importance considerably in relation to the rest of the town. There's also a tavern or an inn of some form, single story, just fairly wide building, but you can kind of gather from the smells and the stable on the side of it that would be what it, its primary purpose is for. And then there is also a kind of traditional-esque visual of a town hall with the steepled front to it, almost church-y, but adjacent to in the fact that it's not maintained or built of any kind of structural function that would lead you to believe that somebody would want to worship there.
All the austerity of a worship space, none of the beauty.
Correct.
I've never found town halls to be particularly helpful, but I've always found bars to be very helpful. So
Okay.
I think Althea will start making her way to the tavern.
Okay. Is everybody following suit, or are we splitting up for different pieces of info, or?
Yeah, I think Red's kind of following, but he's perhaps got, he's probably a little bit more intrigued by this abandoned, not quite abandoned, but this slightly disrepair, damaged town hall.
Okay.
But he's sort of got one eye on it as he kind of walks towards the bar, and he'll follow.
Okay. And then ever silent Jack just
Jack's
meandering
in.
with. Okay.
Jack is
Jack's
short for lumberjack. I got axes strapped everywhere. Jack's a teetotaler because it's dangerous to chop trees while drunk, but will still willing to walk into a bar.
Okay, so you guys meander into this tavern, and it is quiet and awkward as the three individuals with relatively newer gear, or at least a variance in aesthetic to the rest of the town, wander into this space, and people kind of stop and look and take their drinks, and most folks here look like they are of a blue-collar nature. These are all very manual labor individuals of, toiling in a field or toiling in a mine. It would not be, knowing that you were going after a mine, it would not be unheard of for any of these folks to have potentially worked in it or, know something about it. The bartender on the other side of the counter is a younger woman, and she kind of slows the wax on, wax off of her rag on the top of the counter as you walk in, and gives you a nod, kind of letting you know that you're welcome. It's friendly enough, but it's still very apprehensive.
LT Gray, tell me about how you got.
There's
tell me about how you got the nickname
there's no
LT.
LT Gray.
You can use it. It's just going to confuse people.
Right. No, I'm not using it. Tell you how I got what?
The nickname, the reputation is the best lumberjack in the area.
I'm actually not a great lumberjack as far as like the strapping strength goes. It's more about climbing up trees, finding key logs and log jams. I do a lot of lumberjack competitions, like balancing on the log in the water.
So would you say it's a more skilled type of labor than working in a mine?
No, I think all labor is skilled labor and deserves to be paid equally.
Althea, I see where you're going with that. Althea,
You want me to get in a bar fight with these people?
Althea
trying to
and
pique some
Jack.
interest.
Yeah,
You handled it exactly how I wanted you to handle it. I wanted you to be complimentary towards them. If you weren't, I would have gone with it, but that's on you.
Will both of you make a luck roll for me?
I got a 3, which is on the bad side.
And that is D6, correct?
Yep.
Where'd all my D6s go? I got a 4.
Okay. Pretty middling, but a couple of people find their interest piqued, and one of the gentlemen at one of the tables closest to you turns and kind of leans back against his chair and looks up at everybody, and he goes, "I don't know what you're in here for, but if you're in here to slander or compare lumberjack into mining, I'll tell you, they're not even close. Mining's twice as much work as any lumberjack will ever see. Most of that has to do with what you end up intaking while you're down there and how changed you end up on the way out.
How changed you end up?
Fumes of the earth are no joke. We don't live nearly as long as a lumberjack because we put more on the line."
Do you feel, Jack? Do you feel like hazard work should warrant higher pay or equal pay?
Is this like Do people get paid? Is this a capitalist society? I assume everyone just gets like fed for mining.
No, there is a pay structure. This is capitalist enough for that to be a relevant question.
Excuse me, sir. What's your name?
Uh,
Every DM's favorite question.
I love it. Yep. It's Jim.
Listen, sir, I've seen my friends crushed by trees, swallowed up by Sasquatches. If you want to settle this, I think there's only one way to do it. And I pull out an axe and I say, it's axe play.
I'm concerned, but I'll decline as I've had a bit too many drinks to be comfortable playing with axes.
Do not play with axes while drunk. I was just talking about that outside.
However, you want to really test your mettle. Mine's your short-term contract work here. We all just happen to continually renew. You're welcome to jump on board if you think you got the stuff for it, but things don't. Risk is a lot higher here.
Sign me up. Also, I just wanted to be clear. I was not threatening you. I meant like a contest.
Well, I couldn't tell if it was a threat or a contest or something vaguely sensual, and I was about none of the three.
Fair. Well, sign me up. Where do I go?
Well, Town Hall has all of the mine contracts, and it's where most of the foremans come and go for information like that.
Do we get part of our pay ahead of time? Pay on delivery?
Yeah, absolutely not, because if you die in the mine, that money goes away. It gets trapped down there. We don't pay anybody ahead of time.
Not even a sign-up fee?
Oh, there's a sign-up fee, but that comes out of your pocket.
Oh, I pay ahead of time.
Correct.
Because if we lose the equipment down there, then that comes out of their pocket also.
Also correct.
It only makes sense.
Catching on. What are you all in here for anyway?
We're passing through. We'd heard of some sort of evil in the mine, and it either wanted us to poke it or to let it free. We're not exactly sure which one. Wait, no.
I understand.
Poke it, the opposite. Leave it alone or set it free.
So none of y'all
poke.
actually want to do any honest labor. You're explorers. You want whatever's down there for yourself. I've seen the type.
Wait, don't miners want what's down there for themselves?
No, we want it for the sake of the company. We work for the man.
I heard a bard one time speak of the fact that miners sell their souls to the company store.
Damn straight.
I think it's very literal. There's a binding soul contract. So.
Yeah, around here it's a bit more lax, but I have heard of mining operations that will do something similar. Regardless, if you're here for that mine, there's no contract that's going to get you down in there. You're going to want to go talk to Milda.
Well, I'm ready to talk to Milda.
Who is a Milda?
Not a Milda, just Milda. Milda Dew. She lives at the end of town, big house.
Ah. The other feature we noticed as we walked in. How interesting.
It's
Now, but I mean, I'm not saying we're not interested in work. Depending on how this conversation with Milda goes, I mean, we might be here for a while.
Well, if you happen to survive that and make it back out of the mine and shut all of the nonsense off going down in there, yeah, maybe we could find some work for you.
And that mine isn't interfering with any of the other mines. It all seems isolated.
Nope. Opposite sides of town, and they're built in opposite directions. That way the structural integrity below the town maintains firm, because, if all of this collapses in on itself, then we don't have a town. So we don't dig under.
Interesting.
Lumberjack parlance, we say you don't shit where you eat.
We don't say that at all because that's disgusting, but
It's disgusting not to shit where you eat. So you're a fan of.
I
shitting
just
where
don't
you
like the word.
eat.
Nope. The other one. I can say eat.
Don't.
I'm tired of this conversation.
Me too. Let's go talk to Milda.
I think Red
any-
might be trying to sort of tug at their sleeves and sort of say, if I wanted to earn money shoveling shit, I'd have stayed in Bastion and gone down the sewers. Can we get on with what we're here for?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like, he'll slip away, sort of already visibly in agony from having to listen to tradesmen talk.
It's entirely fair.
I love that Chris comes on the stream and is like, "You all suck. I'm out of here.
Look,
This is in character.
I'm tired of listening to you."
somebody needs to maintain order. You two are monsters. All right.
I just wanted to see how long we could vamp about economic policies before Chris jumped in and was like, "That is not what."
That is literally not the point of this game. All right. So, where are we off to next?
We're going to talk to Amilda.
It's the Milda, the only one in town.
It is the Milda, but I mean, the Milda is also a Milda. I didn't want to, mince words with Jim back there, but one does not exclude the other.
I was really close to naming her Brunmilda just because it was fun, but
Yeah.
all right.
And apparently, I've decided Althea is a pedant, so there's that too. And so,
All right, so you guys travel towards this house, and by larger house in comparison to the rest of the town, I'm talking like 2.5 stories, like 5-bedroom home. Like, it's not enormous. It's just a lot bigger than anything here. It's also sort of well kept. It's got a little bit of a garden next to it. Looks like mostly root vegetables and things of the sort. But are you just walking up and giving it a knock?
is there anything in season in the garden?
Come on.
Yes, just only beets and exclusively beets right now.
I lean down and try to grab one of the beets out and stick it in my pocket real quick.
Make a luck roll for me.
Truly riveting adventure.
I'm just gonna start causing problems.
I got a 5.
Damn it! All right, that's a pretty solid beat. It's good. Spherical, as beats are considered.
I knocked on the door 5 minutes ago.
Okay, you knocked on the door. It took probably about 5 minutes for this door to open, and standing in the doorway is a woman of mid to late 40s-ish. She very much, in the way that she stands, nurses or favors one side of her body over the other, and that she looks like she's got a pretty heavy limp. But she opens the door and looks at the three of you, and kind of immediately recognizes that you are not about town, and makes the presumption that she knows why you're here, and just kind of opens the door and gestures you inside.
I mean, I don't know that we even need to come inside. We might get bogged down in some negotiation. We can manage this very quickly right out here if you'd like.
Of course. Getting right to work then.
But we're also happy to come inside if you want also.
I'm getting mixed signals. Perhaps we should... Is that my beat sticking out of your pocket?
Do what?
I'll sort of usher them forward and say, of course we'll come in. We'll come in now. We're here to help.
Splendid.
I stick the rest of the beet inside my pocket at that moment.
Okay. She eyes you and very much has a bead on Althea throughout this process then, as she leads you all three in to a tea parlor that faces a big bay window that opens up and looks out upon the town. She opens the curtains, and you three sit with Milda as she pours some tea and sits and looks at the three, and she goes, I can only assume if you're knocking on my door, then you're here for the mine.
Yes.
Oh, splendid. Thank you. I was wondering if we would ever see anybody from Bastion on their way here. It's such a trek. Hopefully you're all unharmed.
I think so. Did we get harmed?
No, I think we're fine.
Splendid. Well, look, I don't care what you find down there. I understand explorers look for, whatever it is that they can make a profit off of, or research, or whatever it have you. You can keep whatever you find in the mine as long as you can quiet it.
Sure. We were hoping for some kind of guidance or
Well-
intel advice.
What can I answer? What are you looking for?
Tell us about some poisonous vapors, curses.
Those fools think they've been working in coal mines or lead mines. No, these were gold mines, gold and silver and precious gems. At least the one that you're heading into. My father, Mr. Dew, was in charge of and owned this mine when it was first being dug, and we amassed a small fortune on it before the accident. The mine itself was only ever open for about 12 years, and most of the miners in the town would love to see it reopened, knowing that there is more to be dug. But my mother, when she passed, well, let me back up. My mother, when my father had died, couldn't bear to see the mine left open, since his body was never recovered within, and that has led it to have closed its doors for good since. I was about 11 at the time.
So are we talking kind of a ghost dad situation?
I don't believe so. We believe, at least through the gossip of those sneaking in trying to make a quick profit, that it is something growing in town, or in the mine. My Discord is going crazy, and it will not mute itself. There we go. Go ahead and mute that. It is...
Madam Dude, normally when people entertain guests, they do turn off their Discord.
Yeah, at least the notifications, even if they're checking it politely underneath the table.
No, something organic is growing in the mine, from what people have described. The walls after the first level of the mine, which had been cleared out of whatever veins of precious metals and gems, below that, the walls start to become and have been described as patchy and soft, almost like moss or something of the sort, mold maybe. The trouble is that we also have discovered, and I swear to God that I did not write this post this, but all of the material, whatever is growing in there, is extremely flammable. So anytime anybody tries to get a torch in there to light up the place, it ends in disaster. And we can't get a good beat on what is growing. There are reports of the mine shafts being just generally structurally infirm, feeling squishy or elastic now, not holding the same kind of stone structure in portions of it. Nobody's made it past much of the second level at all. And those who have returned are not keen to go back in. They think the space is cursed. I really don't know.
Are there any miners that would be willing to escort us down to at least the just through the first floor at least?
Potentially. One of the old foremans, Durer, if you go to the town hall, you might be able to requisition him for help. At very least, because again, most of the folks who go through there are thieves or miners looking to jump in and grab something and run. Have run in with torches. Take a hooded lantern so you don't have any exposed flames, and you should be able to make your way a little bit cleaner.
Do they have those at the miners?
Yes,
Store?
that's
Thank-
what I was getting towards. Is that the town hall is also our requisitions office for a lot of the mining gear that we still use. So, um, grab some of that on your way out.
Sounds like we have a plan.
Perfect.
Love to hear it. That came together surprisingly quickly, honestly. Thank you, Miss Dew, for expediting this process.
I have no reason to withhold anything. I just want to see my family's mine reclaimed. Now, if you would,
I didn't second guess anything until she said, "I don't have any reason to withhold anything," and now I'm deeply suspicious.
she pulls out
Is she alone? Is she alone here? Will anyone see if we enact violence upon this woman? I'm just, I'm just kidding.
You,
Oh, so not him.
this woman reaches into her pocket and hands Red a key.
Yes.
She goes, that goes to the lock on the front of the mine. And there is a second key, assuming everything is where it ought to be. Well, not a second key, but a set of keys at the end of the second floor, hanging by the shaft, heading down into level 3, which is where the initial collapse happened that my father passed. But those keys will get you through the third floor. We did keep each zone locked as the richest portions of the mine, to avoid thieves or people trying to scalp profit.
Madam Dew, do you have a restroom?
I do. It's out back, about 30 paces from the house.
Thank you. You mind if I use it on my way out?
You may.
You dodged my plan there. Listen, out of character, how do we get a gem to hide in this beat and convince a bunch of miners to rush in there ahead of us?
Why
To
is that out of
explode.
character? Why would that not be in character?
Well, because I'm hoping one of you will say, no, that's a stupid idea. I have a better plan. Don't worry about hiding a gem in a beat.
You know, unfortunately, nobody has said that yet.
I say I think it's a great idea.
All right. So, are you all heading off to the, I guess, base of operations for Caburnett?
Company store.
Company store.
All right. So, as you walk up to this space and enter it, big double doors, it looks like the interior of the space has been stripped, having no need for any political or religious space. It has been turned into more or less a warehouse. There is stuff all over the place, and a couple crates in the center of this with large maps and, a lantern weighing down one of the edges of it, and a couple people over the top of it discussing information about what you would presume to be probably the current mine that they're using.
Okay, before we go in here, do any of you know where to get a gem to hide in this beat?
In the mines.
Makes sense.
Well, but we need it to set. Can we get people excited to run in these mines ahead of us?
If I could afford to buy a gem, I wouldn't be doing this job.
But is there a place nearby, perhaps in Madame Dew's house, to find a gem?
You suggesting we rob the house instead of
we can return
instead
it.
of what we were sent here to do?
I'm not gonna lie. That was my fallback plan if things didn't work out with the mine. That's a huge house in this town with very
We could
small
call it
houses.
Plan Beat.
Called Plan Beat. BEAT.
No.
This is very good.
I'm just very keep on the borderlands. I assume everyone has a bag of treasure hidden under their floorboards.
I mean, they certainly do. I mean, every house I've ever been in, if I smash a pot, if I pull up a floorboard, at some point in time, I would say 3 out of 6 times I find something.
Jim at this point kind of barrels a shoulder through the crowd of you walking up into the building, because
Whoa,
you said this
what?
was prior to you walking in.
I shove
Um,
Jim. I shove him.
Okay.
Whoa
All
there,
right.
LT Gray.
So you shove Jim, and oh goodness, he lands and kind of skids up the steps a little bit on
Oh
the
no! Oh, Jim,
front
I'm
of
so
this the front of these stairs, and he dusts himself off and looks at you and he goes, "You got any reason to be standing out in front of, where working folk are traveling? Or are you just trying to cause problems? Because I got about a dozen friends in there who would love to see a problem now and then. We get real bored."
You told us to come here if we were looking for honest work.
Well, that was before he pushed me.
This is gonna sound very childish, but you did start it.
I was trying to shoulder past. You
Isn't
interpreted
shoulder-
that however you wanted.
Oh, I was also just trying to shoulder past.
Well, the good
I
news is
don't
everyone
like
wants to
you.
go inside. Why don't we go
And-
inside?
I can't stop you. And he gets up and walks inside.
Jim, you want to come to this mine with us?
He's already inside.
I've run up to him.
You
That was
catch
quite the
up.
effective charm offensive there.
There's
You-
ritual dueling in this town, right? I
You-
just won.
Well, so you run in after him and be like, "Hey, Jim, do you want to come to this mine with us?" Every miner inside of this space stops, and the room goes quiet, and everybody looks at you, and the fellows at the map kind of stiffen up and look at you as Red and Althea filter in behind you, and they go, "What mine are you referring to that you're trying to subcontract our folks?"
If I understand small towns right, I do believe that you all are going to want to come watch this stupid outsider, me, jump into this cursed mine, probably get lit on fire. I just thought maybe you'd like to see something, a little bit of entertainment that you don't get out here.
Jim looks at the rest of them and just goes, "I have no idea what his deal is. Just proceed on with what you're doing." And he goes into the back and starts, like, gearing up. One of the foremans that was at the table does approach you after this point, and he goes, "So you're going to the Doom mine?"
Do or doom?
I'll sort of like hold up the key and sort of gesture to it.
Got it. So you've already spoken with Milda. She needs
Yeah,
to leave that mine alone.
Jim told us to speak with her.
Well, I mean, he's a helpful fella. But if you've already spoken with Milda, I can't do anything to stop you. But we've never seen anybody come out of there who really had much good to do for the town afterwards. They just kind of ended up wandering.
Like driven mad?
It was unexplainable. I don't know what the hell went on in there, and we're small town folks. I understand that the world is a crazy place, but this is a pretty normal patch of the world, all things considered. We don't deal with a whole lot of odd around here.
Normal patch of the world with a cursed mind. Obviously, we get it. We understand.
The mine's a new thing, considering. Don't be rude.
I just stating a fact. Also, didn't Milda say this has gone back a while?
Oh, yeah, like 35 years, 36 years.
The new thing that happened 35 years ago. Excellent. We were told, it was implied by a few people, and I kind of had my head of Jim, that if we wanted to procure some mining supplies to help in the mines, we might be able to.
Yep, they could help with that. What are you looking for?
Oh, all the good miner stuff.
We need hooded lanterns.
Ah. I heard about the fires. Makes sense. Yeah, I can fetch you 3 of them. As long as you promise to either bring him back. Or if you don't bring him back, that mine better damn well be clear so we can make some money off of it.
Well, I think we'd stand a better chance of coming back here if we had something to help us breathe in case of any of this gas nonsense. Do you have that sort of stuff out here? I mean, in Bastion, we got that kind of stuff, but, you know.
Small towns sometimes don't have that kind of stuff.
You watch him bristle as you say that, and he's like, oh, of course Bastion's got it. Yes, no, we understand what safety equipment is for. Yeah, I'll fetch you a couple of masks, and I will get you some hooded lanterns. And he walks off. You can hear him mumbling about Bastion as he walks away. You want to pick?
Just in case.
Sure. No, you can't have a pick. You're not going in there for work. The wave's paved. You're going in there to clear out the monsters, as I recall.
What if there's been a cave-in?
Y'all look like you're strapped with explosives. Is that not what clears cave-ins?
You use explosives willy-nilly in the mines?
All right, you got a point. I'll go get you a pick. He walks off. He comes back with 2 hooded lanterns, a pick, and then 3 small masks. They're not like full face, like deep trench warfare gas masks, but just half masks that would cover the mouth and nose and have some filtration. He goes, it's all I have that I can put on loan to folks who aren't miners. We do have a business to run.
We'll take it, and I'll say, oh, I think my granddad used to have one of these.
Your granddad also from Bastion?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was probably stainless steel or whatever the hell they have out there.
I much prefer my
vulcanized rubber as well.
Vulcanized rubber.
Oh, I love the smell of vulcanized rubber.
There's this amount of like longing almost in his face as he goes vulcanized rubber, and you're looking at like an old, like just straight wood handled wrought iron pickaxe. And he's like, well, maybe the miners out there ain't so bad. I'll have to go, maybe I'll have to take a trip one day. Get me one of those pickaxes. I'm rambling. Y'all should leave. Go do your thing. I got work to do. Now you got me thinking. Foremans don't like to watch their miners think. It means they're not working.
If I lean over and try to get a look at the map, does it look like is it clear that the 2 mines are not connected on there?
If you're looking at the map, the map itself is labeled for the Phyllis mine.
Right.
And it only appears to be one particular view of the tunnel layout. So you wouldn't be able to tell on there if the dew mine connected to it or anything.
But does it look like it's going towards or away from the city?
It's all subterranean mapping. It doesn't actually give you
there's no reference point.
Right, there's no surface side reference point. Okay. So, onward you go. I did not actually give you directions, but we'll go ahead and say that you got directions to the actual mining spot. As you approach this space, there is... it looks like a shaft mine straight down, covered over by like a small shack, but locked with what have recently been upgraded with like wrought iron bars or bracing along the doors, and then a large lock on the center of it, presumably to keep more outsiders from trying to sneak in.
Okay, well, I'll go and try the key in the lock.
Key works like a charm. They're both relatively new. Lock falls off, and as the doors swing open, they swing back, and there is a rope that connects to a pulley in the center that just goes straight down. Zips down a good ways.
I'm absolutely pocketing this lock.
Okay.
Isn't that how this?
I'm not
This
going to
is
say
great.
no. You can take the lock if you want.
He didn't say what kind of lock it was, but yeah.
I
Was
mean,
it a padlock?
Yeah, it was a padlock. He
Yeah.
he got the understanding of it.
Was there a
Am I-
chain that it was attached
Am I
to?
doing this all wrong? Isn't this?
No,
you
it
know,
was
No,
the.
all
You're
the
100%
problems with your
OSR.
Look,
items.
if you
You're
want the
absolutely
minutia,
OSRing it right now.
if you want the minutia, the wrought iron bars that are bracketed into the door have the loops on them that connect.
Excellent.
Anyway, Red, are you zipping down? Is there anything you're checking first? You just
Red looks at the door and he considers asking more minutiae about the hinges on the door, but then he decides to step into the pulley lift instead and kind of gestures for the others to
another dig at our focus on the minutia.
I love it. It's pleasing me greatly. Red is currently my favorite character, and I'm not taking that back. No,
We have to save Red then. We have to keep Red alive.
Yeah, we stand behind Red at all times.
I'll go first.
Unless the problem is behind us and then we stand in front of Red.
All right, so you guys take this kind of pulley system down into the first level, flipping on lanterns, I take it, and pressing on, and the tunnels themselves are about 15 feet in width, about 8 feet high, and you probably went down the equivalent of like 4 floors of this pulley system before you even got to level 1 of the mine.
And to clarify, this is like an elevator, like an elevated shaft on a rope going down.
More or less, it's a pulley system that has like the large like tin buckets for taking ore and things out that you
Gotcha.
presume you just kind of put a foot in and ride down.
Gotcha.
One hand
So
on.
we're just sitting at an angle.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
It's not. It's pretty vertical, but there is a little bit of an angle just to keep things in place. Yeah. But layer 1 or level 1 of this area is not all that noteworthy, to be honest. It has been completely cleared out. It is empty and just dusty rock. You can see small amounts of like tables for waypoints for folks to eat their lunch and things when they arrive or what have you, but it's not really anything left because nobody used this layer anymore. It takes about, for perspective on this, about an hour before you start traveling down into layer 2 via the same pulley system, but a little bit on a grander scale. At this point, they had a larger operation, so this elevator is a little bit more fanciful, but same concept, big buckets tied to pulleys. And unless there's anything that you guys want to deliberately explore on layer 1, we will begin all of this on layer 2.
Oh no, I'm gonna need every detail.
Stop it.
Layer
Get out of here.
No, layer 2 sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you guys begin your descent down into layer 2 of the Doom Mine. And that is where we are going to take our first break. It's been about an hour at this point, so we'll go ahead and halt here briefly. Take 5 to 10-ish, and we will be back here shortly with some more shenanigans with Into the Odd. And I am very excited to see what happens next.
By the way, while we're taking a 5-minute break, it's a great time to go check out the Kickstarter campaign if you want. I'm going to drop the link in the chat in just 1 second. And if you're watching this later, go check out the notes on the video also, too, because they'll be there at the same time.
I'm going to keep Tony on tap for everything all the time because I am not superb at promoting anything either. I do these to promote, but those are good. Those are good. I need notes. But yeah, go check out the Kickstarter, and we will be right back. Welcome back, folks. We have returned, and luckily the overlay is in the proper order, which makes me happy. We have returned to Into the Odd with the Top Shelf. I am your host, Mads. We've got Chris McDowall, Tony Vicinda. Is that correct? Yes, I just making sure I had the last name right. And Aaron motherfucking King, as his Twitter handle shows, on the stream with us. 3 fantastic game designers playing through a fantastic game, which is currently up on Kickstarter right now for you to back and enjoy. And the art is by Johan Noor. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
It is absolutely superb. I got a taste of it looking through kind of the advanced works, and it's incredible. I can't say enough good things. And you gotta go take a look at the Kickstarter and the pictures they have there. It's so good. Where we are at currently is heading down into level 2 of the Dew Mine. There is something down here causing problems and warping the mine for one reason or another that is worth quelling and putting down, and maybe taking a little bit of treasure back on the way. Hopefully a fun, neat arcana that we can go return to Bastion for some additional research. But
I know right before we break, I was like, I don't need to do anything in level 1. I do actually need to ask this question.
Okay.
Is there anything shiny that it looks like I could hit with this pick and easily get out on level 1 of this mine?
No. And when I say, that it is empty.
It's mined out. Gotcha.
Yep. They will mine out before they dig down.
Great. I figured as much. I just wanted to double check.
Layer 2, as you start to go down, you take your first steps into this space, and a couple of things strike you immediately. One, they've mentioned fires, and you can see kind of the black soot and smoke stains along some of the walls where it is exposed. But whatever has been expanding through this space looks to have reclaimed its territory and is creeping up further to head up the mine shaft. And what you are looking at doesn't look like mold or mycelium of any kind. Rather, it looks like patches of felt or like terry cloth and corduroy.
Sorry. Are different patches different types of fabric in appearance?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks very patchwork in its function, but they appear
almost
to
as
be
if the entire world around us is like a patchwork world right now.
Similar to something along those lines. However, it's not all stitched together. Some of it is. It looks like it's erupting from. You can see little seams in the walls or little spots where it's almost clambering over the stone and sheathing parts of the walls. Whereas other parts of it do look like where these different fabrics are intersecting, that they are stitched together. They have these, these joining spaces, but it is fabric. It is not fungus.
Would it be a bad idea for me to try to slice a little piece off, see what's underneath?
You are welcome to give it a go.
I was asking my party members.
Oh, got it. Yes, in character.
I mean, out of character, I can't imagine that there's a better idea right now, but...
Yeah, maybe go and try one a little bit further down. I'll just keep an eye out down here.
Did you say there's like stitching between the different pieces?
Some sections there are, some sections there aren't. Some of them are entirely self-contained, and some of them appear to be a little bit more isolated, or self-contained isolated. Some of them are connected and look to be creating a larger tapestry.
If I can lift my if I can lift my lantern to one of the sort of seams where you say it looks like they're kind of coming out from, Is there anything I can see kind of in the seam? Can you? Does it look like it's literally kind of growing out of the rock?
Yeah, you would if you're looking at it. It is a tight enough space that it's almost using the walls as just a place to take root. It is deep in there, and there's not really enough of a gap for somebody like a person to have like slipped fabric through the other side of the wall.
Okay.
I will scoot down the hall a little,
Okay.
away from my friends, just in case this is dangerous, and just try to cut a little bit of a stitching with one of my throwing axes.
Okay.
See if I can like cut it loose and then pull it out.
So just to confirm then, are you cutting one of the portions where like a couple sheets of fabric are connected to each other? You're trying to
like if I can cut
take
the
down
actual,
the actual
stitch.
lines. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and make a dexterity save for me.
All right, I'm rolling a d20 under 14. I got a 15.
Nice.
Way to start the game off right.
So you take that axe and you slice through these stitching, and you get about halfway through before the stitching of the rest of them breaks. And one of the portions of the fabric on the wall flies off, almost as if they were so taut that this is pulling, and then it just pops, and it wraps around you and slams you against the wall, cocooned now to the side of the mine shaft, away from your friends.
Well, y'all, it's been great. See you next time.
Is any of the other fabric on the walls moving, or is it just that piece?
The other piece that was connected to it is now loose, but because it is not directly aggressing anything, it looks to just kind of be swaying in a wind that does not exist. Like,
okay.
Trying to mimic the look of just moving fabric.
Can I run over and try and sort of try and pull the fabric free?
Of Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and make a strength save for me.
So I need 12 or less. 11.
11, very good. So, yeah, you rush over immediately seeing this and wrench the fabric off, which it's got considerable strength for being a piece of fabric. Definitely having some kind of responsive sentience to it, trying to hold itself tight, but you pull it off and Jack slips free. Beautiful timing.
Told you it was coming off at some point tonight.
No, it works.
Someone is free
Works,
of the
I'll take it.
fabric, if you know what I mean.
And Jack, you kind of stumbled to the floor, having been unable to breathe during that point, but up until that, there was nothing, just darkness, and now you're back in the mine.
Is there any reason we shouldn't try to get up part of the way towards level 1 and just try to set this all on fire?
Exactly what I was thinking. I'm kind of looking around, making sure, like, as he's pulled free, how does the fabric around Jack and Red react?
With nobody in the immediate vicinity, because to avoid having to make another roll, you kind of pull it free, and then both of you get away from it with some haste. It is responding in the same manner, not being connected to anything right now. You watch it kind of drift in a breeze, or its own fabricated look of it being in a breeze. Before, if you guys are just staring at it, both of them do kind of start to lay back flat against the wall, and re-seam the...
As Red was pulling Jack out and I'm standing back watching, did it look like the fabric was fighting him actively?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely resisting in a way that you could watch, like, the lower portions of it while he's, has a hold on the upper portions is constricting like a snake, or,
Fire seems like an excellent solution. However, we don't know how far down it goes. We don't know what else is down here. And we don't know if there's any reason to be worried about structural integrity. There
must be some reason why the miners didn't just throw a match down here.
Right. I mean, I can think of other reasons too, but I think yeah, practically, I think it's a good concern.
Okay.
But should definitely be plan B if we don't find plan B if we don't find anything else.
Okay. So, onward you travel, moving down into this space, and the next kind of corridor section of level 2 that you get to, because you have light, causes you reason to pause, as this intersection between floors, as the fabric starts to take hold of more chunks and less stone becomes available. You're now starting to see portions of the floor covered in this fabric. And where you're seeing this, these are not patches in singular spaces. This is like you'll see basically the equivalency of like a rug worth of fabric stretched from one side of the hallway to the other, like they're stitched in between each edge of the wall.
Is there like starting to be an esophageal feel, like as if we were traveling down a throat made of fabric?
Not yet. You're not catching that yet, but I think it's reasonable to assume that the closer you get to whatever is causing it, the more of this is going to be permeating the space.
Are there any loose rocks around?
Yeah, there is still some loose stone present. Every once in a while, you'll still pass like a mining cart that is, hauling stuff back and forth, or would have been, that's got stone in it and things.
I'm going to take a piece of stone, and feel free to stop me, anybody. But it'll sort of Red will like pick up a decent sized rock, the size of a loaf of bread, and throw it onto one of the kind of the rug sized patches on the floor, and sort of step back.
Yeah, so you give this a toss and step back, and the rock lands in the center, and the weight of the rock, you watch it spring as if the stone underneath it is gone at this point. The weight gives it some kind of cave.
But the fabric itself doesn't like spring to life from that?
No, it doesn't seem to.
Okay.
But it does seem to be replacing the floor.
Okay.
Jack, earlier you split the seam, correct? Is that what you did? But we didn't see a piece get cut off, correct? We didn't remove a piece of this fabric moss.
Right. You gonna do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to try to quickly like find an edge that's like kind of where it's kind of grown out a little bit, and I want to try to sever like very quickly the fabric from the main body.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and make another dexterity save.
11, and I have a 15 in that.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, so knowing what to expect and being well prepped for kind of what you've been experiencing so far, you kind of lean forward, carve off a piece off of the end of one of these fabrics, and then dash back. And you watch the piece of fabric that was injured. If anybody's familiar with slime mold, or the way that it kind of spreads out, it's very tendrily kind of fungus. It grows bright green. But what you watch is like the threads that fray off of the side of this extend and kind of feel out into the space as the fabric once again kind of detaches itself from the wall. And you notice it almost is behaving like seaweed floating in the ocean. But it definitely is, it's feeling for something, and all of these little threads are kind of reaching out to do, whatever it is that they are looking for before eventually it does return to the surface of the wall. And then you watch these threads root themselves back into the rock and pull the fabric tight against the wall.
Is it still separate from the main body?
The piece that you have is Yeah, I mean, you can hold on to that piece.
Yeah,
That's the
so
other
I guess
significant
the piece in
portion.
my hand, does it seem to maintain? Is it still like, what is it doing? Does it die right away?
It does.
Okay?
It is completely lifeless, usable. I mean, fabric. It is indistinguishable from anything that you would be familiar with.
Okay. But I mean, as I pull it away, does it seem to, as soon as it's removed, it immediately seems to become mundane fabric, or does it take like a few seconds?
Yeah, as soon as that last portion of, like, the last thread is severed, it is lifeless.
Okay.
How do we want to proceed?
So is there a way for us to like pass through without having to walk on this, or is it covering the entire floor at any point?
In this portion, you could carefully step around these floor spaces, but it's more just a note of this is getting worse as you press on.
I have an idea.
Is there another direction that we can go, or is this kind of the one way through this section?
This is an intersection, actually. You're looking at three different directions, all things considered.
So this is this kind of straight on?
Say again?
So from the way that we've come, if we've hit kind of an intersection, is this like straight on, continuing the direction we came? So is there a left and a right passageway that we've not looked at?
Right, yeah. So when you get down into layer 2, there seems to be a single main mine tunnel, which you've been traveling along, and then this first intersection you've come to does continue straight forward, and there are also 2 lefts and rights in that space.
Okay. Do you, as I look to the left, as I look to the right, as I look straight, are these side tunnels smaller?
They are, yes. This is very clearly looks like it's a main tunnel, an arterial portion of the mine.
And all 3 pathways are blocked by floor fabric?
All 3 pathways have some of it on them. Right now, like I said, you can navigate around them. It doesn't look like any one pathway is going to be more dangerous than the other, but it does look like the straight down pathway, if you're assuming that this is, worsening as the mine deepens, the straightforward pathway is clearly the largest of the 3 and is designated, very much looks like the continuing tunnel towards, the next depth.
I can't see any reason to stick around here, so should we just head down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to do marching order?
Sort of head forward and move slowly and carefully to avoid stepping on the fabric.
Okay. Sounds good. And Jack, you brought up a good point. Let me grab a marching order for everybody. Who's going first?
Well, we have to protect Red. We've agreed that.
Yeah. We were saying behind her, in front of Red, one of the 2.
So you say protect me. I thought I was the human shield.
No, you're the one that makes things happen. We got to keep you alive.
Yeah, your next character might just want to talk about hinges.
I mean, Red is quite robust. He's probably not a bad candidate to go ahead.
Okay.
I would like to go last in this situation.
Sounds good.
I'll be middle.
That puts Jack in the middle. All right.
As they get around this first little path, I actually want to try to run out and jump on that stone, and use that to springboard to the other side of the fabric.
Is this a test of something for you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a test to see what happens when I jump on the stone that he threw out and then use it as a springboard to the other side.
Okay, I need a dexterity save.
I passed by 10.
Passed by 10. Okay. So, as you run and your foot lands solidly on this rock and you are ready to push off, there is very distinctly no weight or no support and no spring beneath this fabric. And you step and it is like hitting quicksand, and the whole fabric drops inward up to about your thigh, but knowing that and being prepped for it, you manage to grab the stone opposite it and climb up off. and it doesn't, it doesn't take you completely. And as soon as your weight is removed from the fabric, it returns itself to its space. But it doesn't look like it is not held tight by anything that keeps it in good shape to put any weight on.
Do I get the sense that so it seemed like it was a matter of anchoring more than anything else?
Yeah, like it was anchored. It's not like it was gonna fall through the hole that you were, but it was not supporting any weight whatsoever.
Okay.
It didn't even try to.
Okay.
Red just sort of looks back and watches in bemusement at the at the stunt.
It's like that's what the rock was for.
But you said the rock sprung, and so I was seeing how trampoliny it was.
So pressing inward through this space, you get to this next room, and things start to shift a little bit again. The walls are not completely enveloped in fabric, but you are noticing it start to upholster over some of the mining equipment and different things in the area. And you watch as you enter the room. There's movement on the other side of the room, just briefly before it passes behind a mining cart.
Do we all see this movement?
You all see the movement, yes.
Okay. Red will draw his pistol and get it ready.
What if we just leave it alone? Can we agree? This feels like a trap.
Maybe one of you who's a little bit lighter on their feet might want to sneak ahead and see if you can get a look at it.
I mean, I'm happy to check it out.
Okay. Go ahead and give it a dex. Give me a dex save for your sneaking.
It's a great question. What happens when you roll at your number on a save? I can't remember.
I believe that's still good. Okay. News to me. I thought that was a fail. No.
I said I wouldn't get involved with rules. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was
I was just using you as a quick reference.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Equal or under.
That's what I thought. I just couldn't remember for sure.
Yeah. So you managed to creep over and kind of give it enough of a berth that you can look around it, and crouched and waiting behind this minecart, peering forward, so not immediately looking at you, are what look like two corpses that have been placed inside of a vacuum bag made of felt and then sucked shut. So these things are just encapsulated in this fabric, turning them into horrifying undead terry cloth puppet pals.
Do they seem fixated on my friends, or are they looking somewhere else?
So they're kind of hunched behind the minecart, hands up on the minecart, trying to peer around at where you and Red and Jack came in from. So they don't immediately notice you, as you're kind of a tangent to that.
Sure. What I would love to do in this moment, in my years as an adventurer, I've never encountered a vacuum-packed corpse that was anything but trouble. However, some of them are more aware and more helpful than others, and so I would love to take an arrow and try to shoot it through the foot, pinning its foot to the ground and causing it, at least one of them, the one closest to me, at least a mild amount of discomfort in the process.
Okay. All right, roll some damage for me.
The longest way of saying I want to shoot a guy.
In a specific way.
In a specific way.
You said D6 for the bow, correct?
Uh-huh.
That is 3 damage.
3 damage. Okay. So, yeah. Solid shot. You get it through the foot. The creature takes 3 damage, and as it does, 2 things of note happen. One, they both stand at attention and ready to lunge towards an attack. The one that was closest to you is the one that you shot. The other one is now rearing around the minecart and lunging towards what it is aware of and familiar with, which would be Red and Jack. But Althea, you also notice that this minecart area, it was stepping on fabric.
Mm-hmm.
Much like you were stepping on, but this fabric isn't sinking at all for it. The second note there is, as you puncture and tear through its foot and through the fabric it was stepping on, it immediately stitches to the fabric on the floor. Like it's gluing itself to whatever is closest of a like substance. As far as these fabric rips that you guys keep causing.
Okay.
So his foot is essentially sutured to the floor right now.
Is the one that's running around the cart, is that one on stone floor, or are they only moving on the fabric?
It's running between both, but it does not seem to care either way.
Right. Well, Red will. He's got his pistol drawn, so
Okay.
he'll take a shot at the one that's running towards him and Jack.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
D6. 5.
5. Very good. A heavy hit as it blows through the front of the chest cavity of this, and the heat of the pistol shot. You can see the singe on the felt, and that spot does not look like it's trying to close your move at this point. Jack,
Can I follow up with a throwing axe?
you can follow up with the throwing axe.
D6 as well?
Mhm.
3.
3. Okay, so you throw this a throwing axe, and it hits straight onto the shoulder and takes off, because it's still a corpse, takes off the arm completely, severing the fabric that was stitching them both together. The shoulder of this, finding the closest like substance, will stitch itself shut, now closing the hole where that was, and the arm falling to the floor is going to suture itself to the floor.
I hope it still keeps moving and grabbing.
It does.
Yes.
It is still absolutely moving, but enough damage to take down the first creature. So it lands and kind of stops moving. It doesn't ever look like it completely dies, but it ends up in kind of a catatonic, twitching state. The one towards you, Althea, is going to try and lunge. And realizing that it is stuck to this fabric, it gets about a couple feet out for the grab, but can't make any purchase because it can't move.
This is the first time I've ever successfully shot something in the foot to pin it to the ground.
Do we
Basically got that one where we want it now, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that were they making any? Were they saying anything when they were attacking, or did they seem to be like completely mindless?
No noise. The closest thing you would have is like a vacuous gasping. There is some very, very shallow inhale would be the closest kind of sound that you would imagine them making. But because they're fabric wrapped, they're also incredibly light on their feet. They make almost no noise moving. They're very uncomfortable creatures.
Do we need to make shoes out of this fabric to be able to walk on it? Were you saying that when these things were walking on the fabric was not giving or bouncing?
Didn't give it all. Nope. Functioned like a rug.
Oh.
I mean, I'll start slicing the covering off of this one we've taken down.
Is that your follow-up move there then? You're gonna try to
I
skin the
think
terry cloth
so.
corpse? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's time to do what every fun adventure game eventually has you do, which is make some shoes, make some little slippers.
Out of your enemy's skin.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So
Wait,
yeah,
what do you do when you play games?
not that strangely. I'd never had the opportunity. Um, so you take a moment and kind of slowly remove the fabric from it, and it does twitch a little bit. At least the fabric itself seems to want to respond, but in the kind of catatonic space that the creature is in, it's more docile. So as you take it off, you're not really at threat, and then it dies and turns into the mundane fabrics that you're familiar with. But yeah, you managed to get a solid small swath of this fabric.
What if we ask the $20 question? As he removes the skin from this thing's body, what's inside?
It is an old miner. Heavily decayed. This was a miner that's probably been down here for a long ass time. You're looking. I mean, this is a 20-year-old corpse. It's mostly bones.
I test my slippers
Okay, so you
on some floor.
suture up some slippers. Give me a luck roll.
A 1.
Nice. So you walk out onto one of these rugs, testing out your slippers, and you are immediately falling through the space until you get to about where your head is at, up to the floor, like Shanghai Noon style.
Yeah.
And the rug almost starts to try to choke you out in the floor. So your buddy's buried up to his head in fabric.
Red will look like, again, he'll sort of run over.
I'm just trying to find a place
Yeah.
to take a nice nap in here.
Try and sort of. Do we have like some rope or anything?
Yeah, I would imagine standard adventuring gear, the kind of general supplies you would probably still have.
But are his arms kind of completely?
Yeah, so all you can see is just his head outside of this, the fabric of this rug that has enveloped him like a cocoon.
Okay, well, he'll draw his knife and try to sort of stab into the fabric and try and sort of cut him free.
Okay, sounds good. So you take some tears at it. Make a dexterity save just to see how long this takes you.
Oh no.
Dexterity is not his strong suit. That's a fail.
Okay, so you do manage to get him out, but in the process, Jack, you're gonna take 4 damage throughout this, from just the constriction and the kind of pulling from the rug and the loss of air
Clumsy
flow.
stabbing.
Yeah, clumsy stabbing every once in a while.
Oh, sorry.
So Red has killed Jack.
So your HP was
Yeah, there's no way.
3.
Your HP was 3, so you're gonna go down to 0, and you're gonna take 1 damage down on your
To strength?
Strength. Correct.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna make a strength save for me.
I rolled a 1.
Very nice. So you're doing great. Red manages to pull you out of this a little battered, but it probably takes a good 10 minutes of this, kind of pulling and fighting with this rug to get you out.
How is the other corpse responding while we're doing all this?
The living one?
Yeah.
It is mindlessly still doing its best to come after you with no avail. It seems to have... It's been given some kind of life by this fabric, but not a bright one.
Okay.
Jack, you are now free and safe.
safe.
Well, relatively. And the knowledge you pulled from that is, yes, the fabric seems to respond to its own kind, but that kind needs to be alive. There's whatever essence is keeping it there. As soon as it becomes mundane, it doesn't give a shit.
Well,
So what do we do with this this one that's left?
I mean, we can we can dispatch it. We can leave it. I don't think there's any way to particularly communicate with it.
Can we just flip the minecart over onto it?
It is technically still behind that minecart, actually.
I'm worried it'll get loose and just run after us from the back. But if we can just flip this over onto it, maybe that'll keep it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
All right.
Flip over the minecart.
Who's doing the grunt work on that lift?
I feel like this is a team effort.
I'll do it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I can get involved as well. Yeah.
all right. So go ahead and give me some strength saves.
Oof, no, I fail.
So did
Oh
I.
no, this is far too heavy. This is a bad idea, and I just kill it.
Okay. Out of curiosity, how are you killing it?
Oh, with my bow.
Okay.
I shoot it in the head area this time.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you probably have to take a couple shots into it before it'll finally keel over. Just because of the kind of damage, but it does eventually kind of go limp. And as it falls, you can see the little bit of pull of the rug because it's still attached like footy pajamas onto the floor beneath it.
Sure.
But it's on the ground, and it's still doing the kind of catatonic, dead twitching.
The pistol seemed to be highly effective against it.
The pistol did seem to be more effective because of the heat relevance.
Yes. I would like to take the rag I have that I've cut off and some of the fire oil, and as we are proceeding forward, as we are in process, to soak it in some oil and tear off small strips of it.
Okay, for sure. All right, so you press deeper in, and the next area you come to is what looks like a foreman station, and just across from that you can see the depth of the mine going deeper in, down to floor 3. This space is sort of lit, and by that I mean there is a little bit of a glow emanating from the bottom of this shaft and up into the space where the pulley system would take you down. It's faint, but it's there. And beyond that, this is a space for tools and supply acquisitions, and then much like Milda had explained, there is a set of keys hanging on a rack next to the doors that unlock and then open into this pulleyed elevator.
When you say there are tools here, are there more lanterns in this area?
There are a few more lanterns, yes.
Excellent. I would like the oil from all of those lanterns, please.
Okay.
Or when I say all of them, I'm a significant amount. I don't know how many lanterns there are. If you're like, there's 20, I probably don't need
I
that
mean,
much oil.
I rolled for it, and it rolled high. I'll give you the... We'll just run with it. You've got the equivalency of 6 full lanterns worth of oil.
Okay.
Which, I mean, you can find like an empty canteen around here big enough to just top off with all of it. If you're not taking the lanterns with, so.
I'm not concerned about the lanterns.
Okay. Sounds good. Anybody else want to stock up on anything while we're here, or see if there's anything that might be beneficial to them?
I'm assuming there's no kind of like, this is like a big ask, but there's no like explosives or anything. Is it all just like manual tools?
Make a luck roll.
Let's have a look.
Let's see.
5.
5. Okay. There are 2 sticks of really old TNT.
Okay, I'll pocket them.
really old, like sweating, or really old, like just very dusty?
I'm not gonna answer that. You may use those at your own risk, but those are like 35-year-old sticks of TNT that have been down here for a long ass time.
I'll keep it alongside my bomb.
I'm looking for wealth.
Okay.
Like if there was any place people were storing, unrefined, precious ore or whatever.
Make a luck roll. Let's see what we got.
5 as well.
5 as well. So you're looking around for like hidden stashes and little secret boxes and things.
Yeah, or just, a spare nug.
Uh-huh. What you find is a diary. Tucked away behind some stones in this space. Over by the corner of one of the tables. And it is a diary of 11-year-old Milda. Are you choosing to leaf through it, or are you just going to pocket that now?
I mean, I'm probably going to die in a sec, so I might as well take a second to
Fair enough.
read this diary.
So there's a couple things that you glean from this diary as you take a moment to leaf through it and everybody catches your breath, which you should have your HP back by now. But what the notes are of about 35 years ago was Mr. Dew gave Milda a brooch. He was a jeweler and liked to make stuff from the gems and things that he found in the area, made a lot of jewelry and things for his family just in his spare time because he enjoyed the craft. But he made a brooch for Milda with a gem that he had got off of one of a different explorer that had passed through. And the little story that Milda tells in this journal explains that her dad told her that it was a piece of the Golden Lands, which is a lot, by all accounts, most people don't even know exists on the same plane of reality. It is extraordinary by all accounts, and kind of every explorer's dream to be able to get to, let alone get back from. But he was convinced that this explorer had gotten it from the Golden Lands, and he wanted to make it for her, or make it into a brooch for her. The next page explains that she didn't like the brooch, thought it was ugly, but didn't want to tell her dad, and sewed it into a stuffed elephant. So she could pretend it was lost.
What was the name of the stuffed elephant?
The name of the stuffed elephant in that journal is Mr. Bilbano Yeggleswater.
I love how you just pulled that off the top of your head.
No, I did
Really
actually
good
have
GM
notes for
craft.
that.
No, I was joking, yeah.
Yeah.
And say the name for me one more time.
Mr. Bilbano Yeggleswater.
Bilbano's Jägerswater.
You messed it up immediately.
Bilbano Yeggle Sweater?
Yeagle's water.
Bilbo for short, if you want.
Yeggle's Water.
Yep.
All right. I'm embarrassed to say that in the next few minutes, you'll probably see me be killed by a stuffed elephant empowered by magic. But maybe there's a chance that if we can get this brooch out of whatever this elephant has become, this whole terry cloth infestation will stop.
Yes, this is the legacy of Bilbano Yeggle's Water.
Surprisingly close that time.
I really enjoy, just as an aside from this, to make key characters in games the most obnoxious titles ever, so when you have to refer to them, if you fuck it up, I can induce consequences. It forces an uncharacteristic amount of observation. And I think it's funny every time I do it.
So if we know this thing's name, we could just try shouting it.
I was thinking the same thing.
To command it or to summon it?
To cuddle it. It just wants cuddles.
Yeah.
Is that the plan?
Just looking at the so the TNT that I've got.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's just got like a fuse.
Uh-huh.
Like a regular lit fuse, and the same with the bomb. Okay, no, we'll come back to that. I don't know. I feel like we could just try shouting its name down the hall.
We could try, good sir. I don't know that I can replicate it.
Well, maybe we'll add that to the list of Plan B, and we'll maybe like just have a look one more room further to see what we can see. So if we've got there's keys here to this lock, is that right?
Yes, you do have the keys to the lock to the door. And I'm not that mean. I'm not gonna like penalize you for messing up his name. I just think the name was funny. But you unlock the door, and you begin heading down into level 3. Is that the goal?
Can you tell me about the hinges on the door? Can we take the padlock again?
You cannot take the padlock. These are actually locked doors.
Okay.
There's no padlock.
All right.
I'm going to make sure my mask is secure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
All right. Masks on. Heading down, you descend into the depths, and as you do so, the light grows faintly brighter, but this esophageal feeling of the space does eventually start permeating, and it looks like you are in... By the time you reach the base of this, and I don't know if any of you want to immediately step off of the pulley system knowing that everything is now covered in this fabric, but you're on the inside of a sock puppet basically at this point.
Immediately speaks to no easy way forward. I don't want to step off. And now my mind is going more towards trunk than esophageal. Like, are we in the snoot of the elephant?
We could try.
Should we
we could try sort of. Two of us could hold one person like by the arms as they kind of step off. So we're kind of like testing the weight, but we're ready to pull them back if it won't support their weight.
That sounds like a plan. Jack, why don't you go over
I'll
here?
do it. I am very familiar with this cocoon feeling. So
You're building a
He just
resistance
wants to
to
be
it.
held. Okay. So you guys begin to dangle Jack off the edge of this pulley system as you touch down onto the floor, and it gives a little bit as you start to put your weight on it, and it buckles. But it's not as aggressive. You do notice that the whole tunnel kind of sways and warps like you're on one of like an umbilical bridge on a spacecraft almost. As you step down, the whole tunnel kind of bounces along with you. But it does appear to support your weight. It strangely does not appear to be held in any kind of material reality at this point, though. So if a fire started here, who knows where you would end up. Because nothing is supporting this tunnel that is now free floating that you were able to walk through, presumably.
You said there's light coming from down the tunnel.
There is a little bit of light coming from down the tunnel. It is a faint, pale, pure white.
So we can't see the source of the light.
Cannot see the source of the light.
Any sound?
No. Not at the moment, at least.
Okay. Should we carefully head forward?
ready.
Oh no, okay. So an idea could be if we're going for the whole space exploration vibe. Should we tie a rope to something solid in the pulley system? And then if we kind of keep hold of the rope, then if this does all kind of collapse into nothingness, we can at least try and sort of pull ourselves back up to the elevator. Sorry.
I'm into that.
I like that.
Okay. You guys fashion, as you delve deeper, you fashion one after the other. You've got. Are you guys chained to each other? It's the three
I
of
don't know
you
if we're
and
like.
then a rope
I wasn't
tailing
necessarily
behind.
thinking we were tied on. We just had the rope tied to the shaft somehow, and then we're just kind of keeping hold of it as we kind of move.
Oh, got it. Okay. Now that's easier as far as rope is concerned too. So you've all got a hand on this rope, occasionally adding more to it with what each of you have in your backpack. But you pass down this tunnel and it winds a little bit. The light always seeming just a little bit further off, until you begin to hear humming. A very deep, very clear male humming.
Trumpeting, sort of.
Is this where we yell his name?
I feel like we could try and get a bit more. Who's good at sneaking? I'm not good on my feet. I don't know who's good at sneaking ahead.
I am pretty good on my feet.
Do you want to scout ahead and just try and see what we're dealing with? Do you think?
Absolutely. And I'll move to the fore, and start making my way deeper.
Okay. Give me another dex save specifically since you're doing some reconnaissance.
Again by 10.
Okay. So you do get a good ways ahead. This humming growing faintly louder. It's never more than maybe the casual humming of a child as far as like volume, probably close to it. So it's not very loud inherently, but you get around this corner, and you kind of peer in and you can see a couple of things. What looks like the cave-in of this level 3 that had killed Mr. Dew is completely carpeted over, almost like steps. And it's still taut to what looked like, and you can see the appearance of this mound of rubble, even though probably there's nothing here anymore. But it kind of serves as a throne of sorts. And sitting on this throne, or kind of in the center of this rubble pile, is the corpse, again, vacuum sealed in this kind of fabric impression. One other corpse that you could presume to be Mr. Dew. Lifeless, completely not moving, looks like he's stitched into the rest of the work. And then sitting on the lap of that is a stuffed elephant no bigger than this, deep blue. And this appears to be the thing that's humming. And it's moving fluidly and sentient and very casually.
The elephant is?
The elephant is, much like a Winnie the Pooh animation, like a very, very calm kind of movement. But you can see that its feet are stitched into the fabric that is spreading across the rest of the space and out into the mine.
How far away am I from everybody else at this point?
60 feet, 2 turns.
I move back. And how far away am I from the throne?
In order to see all of that, you're probably 45. But like that 45 is one room. It's just a big open
No, that's fine.
space.
I want to kind of reverse that ratio. So move back a little bit closer to the party.
Okay.
And then loudly whisper the information in a directed way so that it goes towards them and not towards the throne room.
Okay.
So it sounds like we need to get the elephant
From the corpse.
or convince the elephant to give up its the brooch, was it? Gem?
The brooch, yes.
In the diary, does it say anything about? So it says that she stitched the stone into the elephant. Does it say what she did with the elephant afterwards?
She lost it, quote unquote.
Oh, she lost it. Okay.
Well,
But, like,
no,
on purpose lost it.
She didn't lose the elephant. She told her dad she lost the brooch.
But she stuffed it into the
And she stuffed it into the elephant so that she didn't have to let down her dad. But she kept that that entry that you're reading there, Jack, that's the last entry that is in the journal. But earlier in the book, if you leaf through more, she had this elephant with her all the time. So if these two things were in the mine at the same time, presumably Milda was probably present the day that that mine collapsed, and it might have been left here.
Should we try the some elephant diplomacy?
Classic elephant diplomacy.
I feel like if we tell the elephant that Milda's looking for him.
Ooh, I'm into that.
I'm not opposed to that. Maybe one of us approaches the elephant for elephant diplomacy, and the other ones are prepared for if elephant diplomacy fails.
I'm happy to do the talking, but if I do, I might leave my bomb and TNT behind with you.
I mean, or take it with you. Either way, it'll work out for me the same in the end.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, Red will kind of like straighten himself up and kind of confidently stride into the room.
Okay.
And when he sees the elephant, he'll rapidly try to remember the elephant's name, and he'll say, "What?
Mr. Bilbano Yeggleswater."
I'll say, Mr. Bilbano Yeggleswater. We've been looking everywhere for you.
Hello? Who? I've been alone for so long. Where did you come from?
We came from Milda. We're part of the rescue team. We've been looking everywhere for you. Milda's never stopped looking.
I am good enough. I thought I've been left behind.
They tried giving her a hippopotamus, a rhinoceros, a manatee, and she wouldn't take it. She only wanted you back. So we've been looking for you all this time.
It's because all of them are shams. Everybody knows elephants are the best kind of plush. And he's now looking at you directly in the eyes. He's got little buttons, but he's very much conscious of where you're at and what you're doing, and looking and communicating directly with you. And he goes, "Alas, I can't leave. My deep, welling sadness has spread throughout the space," and he kind of lifts his feet like a cat needing a blanket, but you just watch like the whole fabric of the room just lift and move a little bit because he's sewed into it, or maybe not even sewed into it. As he lifts, you watch it. These were probably the starting points of this kind of spread. He's like, I'm stuck
here. You can come back to the house now. Milda's waiting for you.
Oh, I would love to, but again, I can't leave. I'm part of this place. I can't move from this seat.
I could carry you.
Would you be willing to?
I'll
sort of move towards him with my hands out.
Okay.
So what I've done at this point is I've put my lantern somewhere easily. I've tied these strips of fabric that have been soaked in oil to the end of a couple of arrows also.
Okay. Now, as a note to you walking towards Bilbano, the length of rope that you have extends only to the entrance of this room. And
Convenient, that, isn't it?
it is. And the distance between the entrance to the room and Bilbano's probably, about 30, 45 feet worth of walking space.
I'll lay the rope down. I'll sort of say to Bilbano, is it safe for me to come to you?
The floor is a floor. You should be able to walk.
Okay, I'll carefully walk towards him.
And it is fine. It's the same as the rest of this space. You can definitely get to him. That's not an issue.
And I'll sort of, if I can get close enough to kind of, I won't grab him, but I'll sort of like put my arms out to as close as I can to him to kind of trying to get a cat to come into your arms.
He does the kind of kneading thing again with his feet, and he's like, you will have to remove me from the fabric in order for me to leave. As you see, all of this spread from me in my time of grief.
Is the corpse moving at this point?
No. The corpse looks like he's buried in part of the scenery, is just a lap to sit on.
Right. I will see if I can just pick him up.
Okay. You can pick him up a couple of feet, but it does kind of pull the whole scenery with it. Like, he is part of the room.
Can I pick him up enough to give him a little squeeze?
Yeah, I think that's realistic. What do you...
While I'm doing that, can I try and sort of feel about inside him? See if I can feel anything solid inside him.
I would like you to make a
No.
willpower save.
Oh, I can do that. Pass.
Very nice. Okay, yeah, because you're manhandling a sentient elephant to see what his guts feel like. So
Not the first time. Not the first time.
So yeah, you squish around in this elephant a minute, and you do find the feeling of this brooch. It is very angular. It's not hard to find where the points are to it, but it's in there.
I mean, you know what I'm thinking.
I don't. Enlighten us.
Pull a leg off.
You wanted me to be the one that would do things and move things forward, so I will try and get like a grip onto the brooch and then try to rip open.
You just gonna Temple of Doom him?
I need to get this thing out.
I love it. I love it.
While he's doing that, I'm pulling out that giant canteen of oil.
Okay. Are you guys watching this from the edge of the room?
I'm
Yes.
absolutely watching.
Okay.
I'm eating popcorn if I have it.
Yeah, you got snacks on you for the trip. Okay, so let me grab one more check from you then. Let's make this... I'm going to give you the option. You can either make this a strength or a dexterity, depending on how you would like.
I'm not going for the dexterous approach. I'm going for the
Okay.
the excited child opening a present approach.
Okay.
Open
that present.
Hang on, sorry, that went on the floor, but I caught it. That is a 6, and that is a pass.
Very good. So you pick up this elephant as it stretches the fabric that is wrapping this room or creating this room, whatever it's evolved into at this point, and give him a squeeze and find that brooch, and then just give it a grip and tear it the hell out of this elephant. And you hear the elephant just be like, "What do you do?" And it's the elephant, like, as soon as it's removed, the elephant goes lifeless. And so does all the fabric, as if somebody just pulled their hand out of the sock puppet. And it doesn't dissipate, but it does begin to fall like a puppet that was curved. It all of a sudden is now just kind of unraveling into a tunnel straight down. And you're holding this little brooch which was emanating that white light. The crystal in it looks like it looks like a shard of like swirling mercury almost embedded into the thorax of what would have been like a moth And
I absolutely Fast and the Furious style, like wrap part of the rope around my wrist and like run it taut so that I'm as close to red as I can get.
okay.
And even
I'll,
maybe like extend my long axe out as something to grab.
Yeah, if I can like shove the stone into like a pocket and try and make a run. If I can keep hold of the elephant as well, or what's left of it.
Yeah. So you got
I will.
your football carrying the elephant as you rush over to Jack and grab his arm, or grab the end of the axe rather. Jack, I need a strength check from you, or a strength save.
My strength that's currently down from being almost killed.
Down by 1.
I rolled a 20.
Oh God.
Nice.
Althea, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to belay disaster here. What you thinking?
So what do I see with this? Like, so is this like all of a sudden Red reaches out, grabs the axe that's outstretched to him, and it just slips out. I see it starting to slip out of Jack's
that's
hand.
exactly what's happening. He goes to try to pull it up, and the axe starts to slip out of his grip.
What does Althea do in this moment? And the concept is they're going to plummet down into this hole.
Or whatever is here, yeah.
I think we see all of a sudden like Althea slide across Jack's body, very quickly, put her bow behind his neck almost as like a handhold, and reach out and try to grab the axe as it slips out.
Okay. So grab me for that then. Let's make a dex save.
I made my save.
Okay, very good. So you grab the axe as Jack lets it slip, and are now holding on to Jack and the axe, and by extension Red, as this room kind of collapses downward. There does seem to be some structure as you guys pull yourself up out of that room and into the kind of tubular hallway. But it is starting to lose its integrity as well. So it is an all-out mad dash towards the pulley system to get back up into a space that is not entirely made of felt. Red, I'm not going to make y'all roll for success on this because I do want to resolve things cleanly. But Red, I would like you to make a dexterity save for me.
And not his strong suit. Fail.
Fail? Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys make it to the pulley system, activate the pulley system as it throws you upward into the second level of this space. Something slips from you, Red. Are you letting go of the elephant, or are you losing something else?
I had a feeling you were going to make me make this choice.
I'm not saying the brooch, but something's falling. Basically, your pack. Yeah, your pack slips open, and something's getting lost.
Yeah, I think the old sticks of dynamite of TNT perhaps
okay.
slip out.
All right, so explosives fall down below as you clamber back onto level 2, and you can watch the portions of fabric that were kind of weaving their way through the stone up into like these rugs and portions of the walls and things are like spasming and convulsing, and as they come apart and fall out of the space that they were, they end up just falling as fabric onto the ground, revealing that there is still stone beneath them. And the rugs that were on the floor, as they lose their grip and fall in, whether or not it was an actuality during whatever arcana that was affecting it, there's just these big cavernous potholes all over the ground now leading out. And your terry cloth friends are completely dead now. As you make your way back through the space.
That's better than I thought. Red was going to have to eat the gem and regrow flesh tunnels for us.
that was my other plan.
I love it when a character gets the opportunity to grow a flesh tunnel for the rest of us. That's one of my favorite things in any game.
Oh, new sentences. New fun sentences that have never been uttered. Okay, so
is the coast clear for us to sort of get?
Yeah,
get back to the
I think more or less now the coast is clear for you all to return. It does take you some time, but things return to normalcy the further up you get, and you reach the top of the mines as you watch Jim walking towards the door of the mine with a new padlock in hand and a new key.
I say, oh no, I got it. I got this for you, Jim. And I pull out the lock.
He stops with genuine surprise because he was just going to lock it up thinking y'all had died. And sees you three and he goes, well, I'll be damned. I didn't expect you all to... it doesn't matter. Good to have you back. What'd you find out? Is everything done?
Yeah, it's taken care of.
Good. Anything else? Y'all are quiet folks.
I mean, how do you feel? How do you feel about textiles, Jim? Have you ever considered a textile business?
Well, I mean, Milda's a tailor now. Apart from her fortune, she had to pick up a hobby.
Jim, mining is hard work, and we're a little tired, and so we don't really want to sit here and have a long conversation with you.
I see. Well, I'm gonna lock up. Hopefully, it didn't cause too much damage, so when we go down there and explore everything, we can get things back up and running. If you really did cure whatever it was, but.
I'll hand him back the. I know it wasn't him that I took it from, but maybe we'll hand back the breathing apparatus that we.
Yeah, you're
Just
welcome
load
to hand
load
back
him
the
up with
gear.
all of our unused equipment.
As Jim receives the breathing apparatuses, he looks at you and he goes, "What were these for?" Oh goodness, Jack, you sweet summer soul, you thought I said noxious gases as in all mines? Well, that's a gemstone mine. The other mine that we've been working on is all noxious gases.
Jim, mining is really hard work, and we're all really tired, and we don't really have time to have a long conversation with you.
Jim, some of us have put in an honest day's work and are just a little tired.
And like I said, I got the lock on this one, and I locked the door.
You lock the door behind you and just stroll off back to Milda and her home. Is that where you guys are heading? I assume because you took.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to return. Well, I'll try my best to sort of put the elephant at least back into roughly.
Yeah, because you just cracked it open like a strong man breaking a watermelon, and like poor guy's fluff and stuff is everywhere. But you return to Milda's, and she opens the door and immediately knows that you've succeeded just by seeing the elephant that you're kind of holding in shambles, but invites you in and just, well, explain what happened, what actually was going on, because this was beyond anything that we could have hoped for. Nobody's been down that far, yet alone to find and return my elephant. How did you know to bring it back?
I don't want to give her this diary. I'm greedy. I want to keep everything. Jim had mentioned that you are a tailor. We were bringing this to you to ask.
Oh,
You to
You know,
fix
there
it.
are things more precious than gold down in the mines.
I see. Well, a thoughtful gesture anyway. I assume you didn't realize that was mine then. I used to have this as a little girl. But that is, yes, I would love to patch it up and take it off of your hands again.
We did assume, because your father was your family's mind, that if a small child had been in there, it might have been yours, but we weren't sure.
You know what? You're right. That's a safe assumption. But what was causing the problems? What actually was happening? Was the mold bad?
It was a bad seam down in the mine.
Oh, I understand. That happens occasionally. We've lost, I mean, other mines have been blown to smithereens from a bad seam. Well, I suppose if it's all taken care of, we can look into reopening it at some point. But thank you all. Hopefully you found something of worth in there. I did mention that it was gold and jewels and all that.
Nope.
We sort of look around.
No, not particularly.
No.
We were hoping actually that the town might repay us for reopening this vital piece of their economy.
Of course. No, that's perfectly understandable. I'll tell you what. I have something better. If the mine is going to be reopened, how about I go get some paperwork and I sign you all in on being partial business owners to the property. My earnings are your earnings.
That's good, because we do have the key to the lock.
True.
I was hoping that would be returned, but I suppose you can keep that copy if that is the case. Business is business. You all get some profit, and we get a good running mine again.
Sounds like a deal.
Perfect. And she stands up and takes the little stuffed elephant, and she sets it on a chase lounge chair in the corner and walks off, grabs some paperwork. And as you guys file paperwork and things, and which is not anything excessive here, it's small amounts of anything because it's a small town, but just signing you in on any kind of income that's coming from the mine. You now have in your pocket a shard of basically living light. I could not find a name for it, but I was always trying to find a reason that now I can't even remember what they were called. The little Muppets from Bastionland.
Mockeries.
I was trying to find a reason that mockeries existed.
I did wonder if this was an elaborate mockery origin.
Something at least akin to. Yeah, the idea of Arcana when I started reading Into the Odd was, I think, definitely came from that. Something of, maybe it wasn't anything in particular, but just an accident of the textile world that started spawning them in. But
yeah, that's canon now.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Look at that.
Something from the Golden Lands.
I do want to know
here, but
what happens later on when I try to stick that brooch into the middle of a beat. Like, that's what I do need to know.
So the idea for the crystal, or the shard that I concocted as that, is it did come from the Golden Lands. It was part of a whole, but the guy who found it started hawking pieces of it because he couldn't figure out what it was or how it worked. But it is essentially liquid sentience, or like crystallized sentience in some form, and those little shards of that will bring things of non-sentience into some level of sentience. But the emotional loss of his owner or whatever, a la Toy Story, kind of brought this into a hurricane of a little bit more wild magics in the process.
Love it.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah, had a good time. Thank you so much for being a part of it all. But I think that functionally concludes at least the story for the episode. What did we all think? Where are we all at? How we liking the game? Jack,
Is that a game
I know
that
you
ends
guys
with a load of administrative paperwork?
Well, okay. the amount of times the Bureaucra Labyrinth is referenced in games at
That's
home
true.
for me, like. But yeah, no, it's wonderful. I'm so excited to have it. I already had to go and back it because I want it next to Silent Titans and Electric Bastion Lands. Even though I know Silent Titans isn't yours, did you end up helping on it, or was that entirely a third party thing?
That's purely Patrick Stewart and I forget who did the
Splendid.
art. Dirk.
Dirk Detweiler.
Yeah.
It's splendid.
Patrick. I've not worked with Patrick or anything actually, but I sort of know Patrick, and no, that's all him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think he just wanted a very simple system to have his very non-simple adventure.
It's a lot, yeah.
Very baroque.
It is a lot. Tony, you'd played, had both you and Aaron, have you both played Into the Odd?
I have never
before,
played. I have never played just Into the Odd. So I played Mouse Runner. I played Diogo's Horror Trilogy. I played a lot of other games that are built on Into the Odd as a concept. So I played plenty of Into the Odd while never actually playing Into the Odd over the course of the last 3 years. And so it's been I was super excited when you mentioned it, and it was fun to sit down and actually play it straight. One of the things I love about Into the Odd, like a lot of other systems, is the emergent narrative. I feel like Into the Odd does a better job of saying, here are the type of things that you're going to do, and being a lot clearer than some other minimalist rules light games that I also love all of, while still leaving a lot of the emergent narrative aspects very, very present and open. But yeah, no, this is the first time I've actually got a chance to play it straight up.
No, that's super cool. Yeah, I had, for whatever reason, never touched or read anything on Into the Odds, so as soon as it was brought up to me, I was only more than floored. What about you, Aaron? Are you familiar with prior to this point, or?
Yeah, I tried to run Silent Titans. I started a group with it, but my imagination was not powerful enough, I think, to bring it to life. I'd run some other Patrick Stewart stuff, but this was just like very hard, not in a bad way. It like sparks the imagination, but it was difficult for me to wrap my mind around
I find it interesting, the idea of somebody taking a really, really, really rules light system that's super easy to play, and we can, get going with nothing but a couple sticky notes and some pens and a couple dice, to then turn it into a game that is as complex as that is, to say, yeah, this is wild and weird, and there's so much going on that you now have to pay attention to 100 times more than you thought you were going to.
Yeah, but the system is great. I mean, I think that's part of it, is that pairing that adventure with a more complicated system would just be even more to keep track of. So
yeah,
in a strange way, I think it is a good pairing. But no, I had a great time. I always like to do little quick character sheets. It's fun to doodle on, I think, and like keep my brain sparking in ways that more complicated sheets do not.
For sure. What was the Chris? What was the reason that you decided to actually bring it back?
So to be honest, I did Into the Odd 7 years ago. Well, sorry, that was when I did the print release with Lost Pages, which was I've got it here. It was kind of a very sort of I'm still very proud of it, but it was a very sort of softback, sort of small release, and I just tried to cram as much stuff as I could into that small format. And but then when I did Electric Bastion, that was kind of me making that into like a bigger book thing, that while keeping it simple, I wanted to sort of really luxuriate in what I wanted to be in there. So there's lots of extra stuff in there without adding complexity to the game. And the setting is kind of shifted into a slightly different tone as well, which kind of fits the tone of my own table a little bit more. And I kind of expected it to almost like replace Into the Odd. I kind of expected Into the Odd I was leaving it like in print, but I was expecting it to kind of just slip into the background a little bit. But I kept having more and more people come and say either they liked Electric Bastion, but they were still playing Into the Odd because it fits a bit better for them. And I was kind of surprised. And eventually I sort of heard enough people say it that I thought, well, if people are if this is gonna stick around, I want to make it something that I can really be thrilled to see on a shelf. And sort of now that I've got a bit more experience with these things, I'd sort of go back and redo some of the things that I would do differently in terms of like the presentation. So yeah, it just was almost like, it sounds really like egotistical, but like answering the demand, I guess, in the sense that I didn't expect people to want more of it, but because people did, it kind of like reignited it for me. And I thought, like, how can we make like the best version of that game so that I can sort of put it alongside Electric Bastion and sort of proudly and have it sort of sit on the same level as that.
Yeah, and I think the art and the layout and the new just focus on how it's presented, I think, makes it very much a good side piece for Electric Bastion Land. Because one of the things that floors me about Electric Bastion Land is the ability for it to have so little comparatively, and I use that term loosely, I guess, so little information compared to so much book. Like, it is not a dense book by any means, way, shape, or form. Everything is exactly where it needs to be, and that's all that's on the page. Like, the fact that there's, 200 pages of just careers and things, and that's a 2-page spread. One's a full piece, like, art, and then little bits of rules. As like, it makes it really easy to parse, and Into the Odd with this feels like it's following the same tone with big sweeping pictures and then little bits of information.
Yeah, so with Electric Bastion, and I kind of it started off sort of in sort of an A5 format, similar to Electric Bastion, similar to Into the Odd. And I think you could fit that book down into like an A5 book if you sort of got rid of a lot of the white space and really like shrunk down the art and were a bit less sort of luxurious with the layout. But I wanted it to feel like, I wanted that to be a sort of deliberately luxurious book. Like it's like almost like a coffee table book in the sense that you can just open it to a 2-page spread and you're like hit with a thing straight away, like quite a big piece of art, you know, a big title, and it's kind of like you're meant to like absorb the world that kind of way. But with Into the Odd, with the remaster, I wanted it to feel a bit more like something you could, almost like a weird little book you'd find like in a secondhand bookshop. So a lot of the art is, like you say, it's kind of like weird sort of psychedelic takes on like public domain art that's been kind of collaged together. So it still says a lot of what it's trying to do through its tone, but in a very kind of different way to Electric Bastion Land. Yeah.
The collage art style very much is evocative of, I guess, a specific kind of weirdness that is different to Electric Bastion Land because it is all one art style drawn by one person, which is very, very cool. I love both styles, and I'm very happy to have them, very excited to have them both on the shelf. But with this being a remaster, and with this being, you know, something that I could talk about how much I enjoy for days, but it's also such a simple system that I don't have a whole lot to say on it itself. I don't want to just run down time for the sake of time. Are there any final thoughts on the game, the new Kickstarter, anything coming, you know, how anything went, whatever have you, before we hit outros?
You put me on the spot there. You're giving me like one chance to like make this game sound.
I didn't mean you. I meant anybody. Like, this is still a conversation. Any of us have any
questions or thoughts that you want to share? Gotcha.
I've said enough. If there's anything anybody else wants to comment on us.
Oh, the creak of the chair right there was perfect.
Yeah, I've great. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I'm obviously here to like I did come on here because it coincided with the Kickstarter, but I was looking for an excuse to sort of come back and play this. Well, I didn't realize I'd be playing it. I thought I'd be running it. So I guess the main thing I wanted to say is just thank you for having me back on, and thanks for running the game, because it's such a different experience to be on this side of the game. Even though the thing that I always found when I was testing out this system, because there is so little system, it's sometimes you finish a game and you kind of feel like, well, was I actually playing the game? Because we didn't really it didn't feel like we were engaging much with like the system, which is kind of like the goal, really, which is what I enjoy at the table. But it's a real pain when you're trying to test the system. Yeah, because it's like, well, was that good, or was it just because it was just like tricks of running the game, or like was the game helping or hindering? But yeah, it was really interesting to be on this side for sure.
I remember the first time we played in Into the Odd hack on stream, one of the players afterwards messaged me and was like, did we play a game? It was like, you know, like their experience was, I did a lot of things. I didn't really roll ever. We all kind of did a couple of group rolls, and, you know, it was a probably slightly larger. I think that stream was also when I realized like 6 people on screen is too many. 4 players is the max of where I wanted to be at. But the experience for them was like, and for me, that's what I love in games. Like, I love when the rules fall away and things just kind of make sense, or you make a few key rolls, but smart play and approach kind of rule the day is 100% one of my favorite things. I think Into the Odd mirrors it so well, or makes it happen so well and so easily. You know, that even some of the, like, I loved that Madge, you made excellent use of the luck rolls, right? Like, that's something that a lot of people, I think, the first time I've seen them run or play Into the Odd, like, they're expecting to do a lot of D20 rolls as opposed to asking enough questions that you have to do luck rolls to find out.
I love luck rolls.
Exactly
that is one of my favorite mechanics.
So, no, I thought it was tremendous, but I've had that exact same experience. I think for me, one of the big questions, this is, you know, maybe a little bit behind the curtains, but you know, you partnered with Johan this time, or you're working with Johan for the layout and the art on the book, which I love the collaged aspect for Into the Odd. I love that piece together but very intentional feel, because I think that matches a lot of the play style that emerges as you go through it. And so I think, you know, looking at how those two things fit, it's such beautiful. But tell me about how that conversation evolved. Were you like, I really want to hire Johan for this? Did you look at a bunch of people? What did the conversation around art and layout look like as it evolved?
Yeah, so I knew that after working on Electric Bastionland, so for Electric Bastionland, I did the layout. I'd never done layout before. I kind of learned layout software for that, and I did enjoy the process. But I thought for the next project, I don't want to do layout again, because it was a bit of an ordeal for me. Even though it's a very simple layout, it took me a long time to get all that done. So I thought for this one, it'd be good if I could get someone who could do the layout and the art, because I really enjoyed. So for Electric Bastionland, Alex Sorensen did the art, all of it, and I really liked having that sort of unified look of like, it's all the art is by one person, and it's kind of like one vision of the world. And I thought if I can get someone who can do layout and the art, and I sort of asked Johan. We'd spoken previously, like he came and did the podcast after Electric Bastionland, after Morkborg won all of the Ennies that year, and Electric Bastionland was cruelly jilted. And I thought, you know, keep your enemies close. So if I can work with Johan, I might be able to bring them down from within. So I got in touch with him after the podcast and said, in fact, it was a good deal after the podcast. And I thought he's going to be too busy, because I thought he must have loads of stuff on from all this buzz around Morkborg and the Ennies. So I kind of asked almost just as an off chance, and it happened that our schedules kind of lined up. And yeah, I knew that I didn't want it to look like Morkborg. So I was like, I'm not just saying I want to work with you because I want you to make this look like Morkborg. And he got that completely. And I think that the key difference is I wanted the information to all be like super clear. So with the original book, like I say, everything is kind of crammed on. I mean, it won't even show like on this webcam because the text is really crammed in. But I wanted the layout to be a little bit more spacious, a little more orderly. And I feel like that lets you be a little bit more chaotic with the art. So the art is quite kind of abstract in places, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it is like a kind of scene. So you'll be able to see like some little like explorers going into a strange place. But there's also just a lot of like scribbled notes and like weird symbols and things drawn on the art. And it's that kind of feel of like when you get like an old book, or even better, like an old book that's in a language that you can't read. And you sort of looking through it and you're trying to just sort of piece together like, well, what is this chart here? What's this like representing? And it was meant to kind of conjure that kind of feel. But yeah, Johan, he completely kind of, from our first kind of conversations, I think we were very much on the same wavelength of what we wanted to do, and it all kind of happened quite naturally, which is good when it happens.
Oh, that's wonderful. I loved Johann's artwork in Morkborg. I loved Johann's artwork in the stuff that I've seen of this. I loved Alex's artwork in what he did for the book, and even what he did for the stream overlay when we had you on last year was absolutely beautiful, which was such a fun experience to be able to work with him to create the stream overlay to have you on, and that was a blast. But I'm stoked that this game not this game, but Electric Bastion Land in incorporation with Morkborg are the reason that I'm doing this game or this show right now. And like why I have 90 something different tabletop games on my shelf behind me. So that's your fault that my wallet's always empty. But
mine's just as bad. You can see my shelf behind me.
Yeah, I believe it. I need to get the deeper edition of Best Left Buried now, but I'm still waiting.
Oh, weirdly, that's sat on my shelf right now.
So
arrived with me the other day, so I've not had a proper look through yet, but it looks really cool.
It looks so pretty. When I was going to buy it a little while back, but then the Kickstarter popped up, and I didn't end up being able to get around to the Kickstarter. But I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it, the original one, even though it's available, because I want to wait for that one. But and then I haven't picked it up, and all of a sudden I'm seeing them on Twitter, and I'm like, no, I'm missing it.
Mads, did you tell Chris that your most viewed video on YouTube ever is the first play of Electric Bastion?
That's true. That is absolutely true. Every time we look at analytics for TPK for a week, that Electric Bastion Lands video is almost always there.
Oh, there you go.
Which
I have got more star power than Grant Howard. Did you have Grant on your stream?
I had Grant on for an interview. He wasn't able to play. Well, he didn't feel super inclined to play the game with me running it. He felt it was a power imbalance he wasn't a fan of, which is fine. I know that is kind of an odd place to pitch, especially being the series premiere of the Top Shelf. So
yeah,
but he was gracious enough to come on for an interview, and we had a great time with that. He's a super nice guy. And then we had what was the other one that I have Jelly Muppet Publishing, speaking of, in 2 weeks on October 2nd for Orbital Blues.
Cool.
He's going to come play with, so that's very, very exciting. But
you should ask him to send you a copy of Best Left Buried Deeper as a...
I should. I totally forgot that was the same. Yep. I will 100% bring it up. I'll tell him that you told me to, and then.
Well, last time I spoke to him, I messaged him to say, "Oh, I've received my copy. It looks really good," and he hadn't received his copy yet. But I don't know if he's going to be too inclined to send out a copy until he gets his. I'm sure he will happily hook you up. But
that's super funny. But no, once again I appreciate you being on the show. It's always a pleasure, and anytime you wanna play in a game of your own or of anybody else's, just let me know.
Yeah, anytime.
And we'll go ahead and go through outros at this point. We're going to save Chris for last so that Tony is prepped with the Kickstarter buttons at that point. Tony, why don't you...
I'm always ready.
You're always ready.
With the Kickstarter
why don't you start us off then, Tony, with our...
Yeah, my name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist over at Plus One EXP. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation, which means we make games, we review games. We also make beard care and skincare products that are inspired by tabletop games. If you're into that kind of noise, you can follow us at Plus One EXP across any social media platform. Also, right now, we have our own minimalist OSR style system up right now called Down We Go over on GameFound. At the moment, I think we're about $200 away from hitting our next stretch goal, which is Nate from Highland Paranormal Society adding a dungeon to the book. So go check that out at ttrpg.link/DWG live. I'll drop that in the chat also too, along with whatever Aaron King talks about.
I'm not going to talk about anything. I'm still Aaron King at Aaron M of King on Twitter. I have made games. I will continue to make games. I had a great time here. That's all. Thank you to everyone.
Okay, nobody's pitching it. Go buy this
What?
thing.
I'm gonna drop the link whether Aaron wants me
Go
to or
buy
not. It
that
doesn't
book.
matter.
If you like Powered by the Apocalypse, it's the best Powered by the Apocalypse version that exists, and Tony will back me up on that.
It is one of my top 3 favorite games of all time.
Like
Thank you.
you can't not plug your own stuff when everybody here loves your work, so I'm gonna do it for you.
I appreciate it.
But take us home, Chris. Why are we here?
So my name is Chris McDowall. Don't look for me on Twitter because I'm trying to escape from its horrible hellscape. If you go to bastionland.com, you can see everything that I'm doing there, including the current Kickstarter for Into the Odd Remastered, and you can buy Electric Bastionland, which is the big coffee table version, I guess. And if you do go to bastionland.com, there is a Discord server, which is probably the one place that I'm actually happy to talk with people, which isn't Twitter. And there you go. You can see Electric Bastionland.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so good.
And Into the Odd Remastered, I should say, the Kickstarter is running till the 21st of October, I believe. So yeah, make sure you get on that.
Yeah, and it's not a bad big bid as far as the artwork and hardcover and everything. It's super reasonably priced for the amount of beauty that is in that book. I
should say it's basically finished, because I hate the idea of running a Kickstarter and then having to do the work afterwards, because that sounds like it would just stress me out. So the book is kind of done. So we are looking to get the print books out kind of April is the date that we put in, but you never know if it might be slightly earlier if we get things working.
Hey, I'll gun for earlier. That sounds great. But thank you
Take that
again.
out. I shouldn't have said that. That's just going to get me like loads of messages on the Kickstarter now. In February,
good.
People are going to be like, "Where's the book?"
You said it was done.
No, it's going to be April. No earlier than April.
Never. But thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Go back the game. It's super, super good. Again, I've seen the preview stuff for it, and I can't tell you how excited I am for just how pretty everything is and how good the layout is. The game's delightful. And I am your host, Mads. You can find me at JK Madigan on Twitter, also in the TPK Discord. Check out TPK for all kinds of good stuff. I just did a Kickstarter promo, or GameFound promo? I think it's GameFound, for Carbon Gray, a different game based on a comic book series of like a 10 years running, which was lots of fun. Prior to next episode, we're going to have Orbital Blues. And then in October, we are finally seeing the multi-Emmy award-winning system that is Morkborg on, so that I can play a game for them, because I want to talk about why that exploded in the way that it did. So stick around. We got lots of good stuff coming up on the top shelf. But once again, go back into the Odd. It's delightful. And we will see you all on the next episode. Also, I think we have another game later today on TPK. Stick around for that too. Everything on TPK is good, and you'll definitely want to see that when it comes through. But you guys take care. Thanks again.